We have a special episode for you guys today. We are doing a combined episode with the man with the beard, Duct Tape Dynasty. We just finished his show, so if you want to check out his channel, we'll link it down below in the description. You can go check out our channel, or our show that we just did with him. But we're going to try and tag team this out, get him on our show, get a couple of his opinions, what his thoughts are, how he got into sport. Just, feel him out, see what kind of a guy he is. This is Turn One Podcast. We're your hosts, Jeremiah.
And Thomas.
Thomas, why don't you start off the questions for our man with the beard, Duct Tape Dynasty?
Yeah, so how would you like to be addressed in this form? You want to go by duct tape or you want to go by something else?
My name is Josh. You can call me that. My thing on the show is Duct Tape Dude, but you definitely don't have to do that. Yeah, Josh is fine. Josh is good.
Awesome. So Josh runs Duct Tape Dynasty, like Jeremiah mentioned. Go subscribe to his stuff. He does live streams every week or so on various sports, a lot of NFL stuff. He's getting into Formula One. I've seen that you did a couple of live streams of Grand Prix before with some guests on. So guys, check that out. But in the way that our channel was formed was we were always interested in how people got into Formula One. As y'all know, if you've been watching our channel for a little bit, me and Jeremiah got into it, me through Drive to Survive, and then I pulled Jeremiah into it through the F1 video games, and then he got into Drive to Survive as well. That led to us starting to watch a lot of the races, going back in time and watching the old races. We've done a couple of videos on our channels of the historic Grand Prix before that are really interesting. Like if you're a fan of F1, go back and watch some of these races from the 70s and 80s. Very little safety precautions happening back then.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Compared to today. So there's a whole other element that we don't even get today with those. So go check those out. But we wanted to have Josh on to get his story about how he got into racing, how he got into F1, and then get some of his opinions on this past season and this upcoming season. So Josh, we'll start with this. How did you get into racing in general, or did you come into racing straight as an F1 fan? Which one came first?
Sure. Okay. Well, I grew up in Montana, so I was into racing. I love fast cars, anything that goes fast. I love airplanes, all that good stuff. But in Montana, you don't have things like F1 up there. You have more like dirt tracks and sprint cars, and so I definitely have the it's in the blood, the racing, or at least the desire to watch the races is in the blood. But I am definitely a Drive to Survive product, man. I got turned on to that by somebody, and Netflix has done a phenomenal job with that. They continue to do so. And I've been watching races for a few years now. Started the YouTube channel actually doing watch-alongs, because what we would do is we would have folks over in Montana, where a lot of my family is, watching the race at the same time we would, and they'd be able to comment live, and we could interact with each other, even though we were, states and states apart. I'm all the way over in Oklahoma. So, I'm a Drive to Survive, definitely product. I haven't been to an F1 race, but I really, after watching your guys' stuff, I really want to get down to COTA, and that's the closest to me. So who knows? Maybe one of these days I can get to an actual race. But so far, the TV version has been entertaining enough. It's amazing.
I've got one other question before Jeremiah steps in with whatever he's got. Do you remember the first live race that you watched? You started with Drive to Survive. When did you make the switch into I'm going to watch this happen in real time?
Yeah, I don't remember which race it was, but I remember sitting down with my kids and watching it, and then the idea came of, let's turn this into a thing with our whole family, and that's where the YouTube channel was actually born, was because of F1 and Drive to Survive. Now, it turned into something else because my kids grew up and moved on, but I absolutely love F1, and I can't even remember what the question was now, so maybe.
No, it was just, what was your kind of first experience watching it? And I'll give you an example. So we started with the 2022 season watching live.
Yes.
Yeah, watching live, and then we started the podcast in 2023. I tried to get my dad into F1, and he's a fringe F1 fan a little bit. He keeps up with it mainly because we do this. But the first race I sat down with my dad and watched fully was 2023, I think Italy or Imola, and it was one of those bad races where there wasn't a lot of action and it ended under safety car. And he's like, so we just watched this for 2 hours for it to end under safety car? And I was like, yep. I'm sorry I've wasted your time. I'll leave you alone now.
I'll say my first one was Monaco. So it was 2022 in Monaco. I finally watched my first race after playing the game over and over and over again. And of course, when you're watching the Monaco Grand Prix, you're really watching qualifying, because once qualifying happens, wherever the cars finish is kind of how they. Now you get oddball scenarios like Pierre Gasly passing two people somehow, or this person crashes out and now they're out of the race, or what was it? Was it this past one where Checo took out both of the Haas's? Or was that 2 Monacos ago? No, that was this last one.
That was this last Monaco. Boy, that was a huge
get crazy
accident.
things like that.
Yeah.
But my first one was Monaco.
I'm trying to look it up here, actually, to see what it was. 2023 Bahrain Grand Prix was, okay, so that's the first one that we did the watch along, was the 2023 Bahrain Grand Prix. And yeah, that would be where it really, really started for me.
That would have been the first race of the season. So you started right on a clean season, and
yeah,
awesome.
And it was 2023. So then, Max goes on and just has that barnstormer of a year where he takes every race almost. And then, as we were talking about on my show earlier, I end up in LA over the summer and went to a car museum to go into the vault down in the basement. I never thought I'd be anywhere near an F1 car. And I literally turned the corner and Max's 2023 championship F1 car is there. And I don't know how much time we spent in that museum, but I could have spent 6 hours just staring at that car. Absolutely amazing. So yeah, 2023 Bahrain Grand Prix was my first one, and been hooked ever since.
I'm assuming what ended up happening, the first Drive to Survive season came out. You probably didn't watch it, and then like 2 or 3 seasons in, you started back from the beginning and watched them through. Yeah, that's kind of the same thing that I did. What was your favorite season?
Oh gosh, it's probably got to be 2021, and I know that's bittersweet for you as a Lewis Hamilton fan, but just the drama of it coming down to the last race of the season, tied on points. I mean, are you absolutely kidding me? How in the world, after all those races, all those miles, all those scenarios that could have happened, you end up tied in points, and then it comes down to the last lap? Are you kidding me? Like, that was the most incredible, dramatic event, that I had seen in motorsport. And yeah, definitely that 2021. Sorry, Jeremiah, I know that's bittersweet for you, but that was just amazing. The drama of that was phenomenal.
So what's your opinion on how that season finished? And I'll give you our context. We did a full video on this, and we've done several short videos on it as well. I'm under the impression, or my perspective is, that's a legitimate championship for Max, because back in the day, there was a race director that determined the rules of the race. They applied the rules, they interpreted the rule book, and they applied it how they saw fit. And that's what the race director did, Michael Massey, or whatever his name was. He unlapped certain cars, didn't unlap others, and that's what he decided. So that's what it was. Jeremiah is more under the impression that
you don't get to say my. I'm going to say my version of what happened. Here we go. In a race where the race director decides to change a rule and make an exception that he's never made before, which has never happened in the sport of Formula One before. But, here comes a scenario where we could have a new champion, a young buck, and write the story of Max Verstappen. So I'm going to go against everything and completely change the rules for the first time ever and allow only the cars between them to go through and not the entire grid. Now, mind you, the rest of the cars that are behind Max are all complaining, well, how come they get to go and I don't? Yeah, that's a great question. That's what I want to know.
And that's valid. I think that was a very questionable move, but had he done the correct application of the rule and unlapped everybody, I think it still would have come out the same way.
The race would have
Because
finished under a
they would have
safety
just
car.
gone around and been behind them. I mean, I don't know. It's yeah, I don't know. I don't know. My opinion on how that ended is I wish he would have just unlapped everybody to make it clean. I don't understand why he said let's just unlap 5 cars or whatever. That introduced the controversy, and I don't think he should have done that. That said, my opinion is it still would have ended the way it ended because the fact of the matter is Max was on brand new soft tires, and Lewis, what was he on? Was he on mediums or hards?
He
He might
had
have even been
just
on hard
pit, I
tires.
want to say, I think he just pit either 2 or 3 laps prior, 4 laps prior, something to that effect.
And I don't
Yeah.
remember what compound he went on to, but I mean, he had Max directly behind him on soft compound tires that were brand new. And whether the rest of the field had been unlapped or not, I think it still comes out the same way.
So we've got your story on kind of how you got into F1. You're a Drive to Survive product, much like us. Where does your fan affiliation lie when a race or a Grand Prix is coming up? Who are you rooting for? What teams? What drivers? Give us the backstory.
Carlos, definitely Carlos. Now, I will say, being a Drive to Survive member, and really a lot of Americans, I think, ended up being a Max fan because even though Red Bull isn't an American thing, Red Bull is such a prominent, brand. It's everything in America. It's all our extreme sports, and so it's hard not to fall in love with Max naturally. Um, But then you throw in the fact that Max and I have the same birthday, and so yeah, I'm a Max fan, but my official answer is I'm a Carlos fan. I don't think anybody works harder than Carlos out there. I'm so sad to see him go to Williams because now I am going to be pulling for Williams, which is going to be tough because I know they're not a front team. I mean, he went from Ferrari to Williams. That's a tough pill to swallow. But that said, I think he's going to keep a lot more cars out of the wall. And so by default, I think he's going to be a huge improvement or help Williams climb up the standings pretty far. I
You
don't like
mentioned
the way that
something.
went.
You mentioned something whenever we were doing your show, and I kind of wanted to touch on that once we did our show. You talked about how you liked what Williams was doing with the new team principal, James Vowles taking over. I wanted to double down on that because I think Williams is making a move to become a front runner once again, and the move started with James Vowles. It's been incredible. He even has said, basically, throw away 2024, throw away 2025. We start in 2026. And that's because that's when the regulations change. That's when everybody gets a new car. He's been prepping for this. He had Alex Albon. He got Carlos Sainz this year. And as for all of these crashes, I'd like to highlight that a little bit and put some explanation to that. He basically told all of his engineers to push every single limit of the possibilities of what this car, if it makes the handling weird, that's just data that we can carry into 2026. If they crash, that's just data that we can take into 2026. All of these crashes, all of these weird moves, upgrades that make them really good one week and then really bad the next week, it's all culminating towards this 2026 season where we're finally going to get to see two, in my opinion, top class drivers in Alex Albon, Carlos Sainz, and James Vowles, who's, in my opinion, a prolific team principal. I think that he's going to be great for the sport and he's going to change Williams altogether.
I really like that take. I like James Vowles as well. I think bringing a technical guy in there and putting him as the TP, uh, we all maybe questioned it at first, or at least it was questionable. But it seems to be working out, and I believe that he does have a vision for Williams, and I'm not just saying that because Carlos is my guy and he's going there. I do think I'm going to agree with you. I think Williams is definitely on its way up. I didn't know that about the crashes sort of thing, but that makes total sense. James Vowles, he's always gathering data. I mean, listen to that guy talk about his coffee intake. Season 6, Drive to Survive. You'll see it. Yeah, he's a tech nerd, and so I could see that. He gets data from absolutely everything, even a piled up car in a wall, and he's going to use it. And I agree. I think Williams. I think they move up to a middle marker team pretty easily this year. It might be a few years before they're a front runner, but I'd like to see him in the front. I think it'd be good to see him in the front again.
I think they need to work on the money situation. That's always been Williams' issue since the '80s. Has been where do they get money from? If they can
Yep.
figure that out, I agree with both of y'all. James Vowles was mentored, still being mentored by Toto. They have a very good working relationship. There's no one better in F1 to learn from than Toto Wolff. Plain and simple. There's no one better. He's
Yeah.
I think we did a whole like 45-minute episode on Toto Wolff one time.
Toto Wolff is like the godfather of team principles. Like that's Toto Wolff. I mean, yeah. So yeah, James, I didn't mention that. Yeah, learned under the school of Toto Wolff, and that's not a bad school to learn at.
So, you're going into this next season. You're going to be you're forced into Williams fan because of Carlos's move there. But I think our stories are kind of similar with the Drive to Survive angle. And you brought this up on your show, and we didn't talk about it then. But the early seasons of Drive to Survive, it was let's focus on Haas and Williams and whoever the other backmarker teams are, because in the background, like every season you would hear, and Lewis wins again. And then they would go back to focusing on Haas and Williams. And then in the most recent seasons, it's been, okay, let's focus on Alpine or still Williams or still Haas. And Max wins again in the background. Who were you rooting for like early on? Like me and Jeremiah both found ourselves rooting for back markers early on. We were both rooting for Williams, Jeremiah really heavily for Haas because they were supposed to be the American team. Did you find yourself early on leaning towards the back markers or the champions?
I was originally drawn right to Red Bull. I mean, they highlighted it, the Danny Rick beginning of Drive to Survive, and of course, Danny Ricciardo is legendary. His personality as well as his driving. So that immediately, I was hooked to Daniel Ricciardo, which then made me hooked to Red Bull. And yeah, it's hard not to root for Red Bull. Again, Max and I share a birthday. So, yes, Red Bull is definitely where I leaned at first. Now I'm kind of I'm going to follow the driver. I'm going to be faithful and go Williams this year. but it doesn't upset me when I see Red Bull win, or even McLaren, to be honest. I mean, the Lando win this last year was absolutely amazing. In fact, this last season was just incredible. I can't wait for the next season of Drive to Survive to come out. I think March next month. Holy cow, we're getting there.
To an extent, were you a Daniel Ricciardo fan even after he left Red Bull?
Yes, I was. I mean, Daniel Ricciardo, like, I know it sounds geeky, because it's a Netflix show, but Daniel Ricciardo, like, has a spot in my heart. He is, I guess, what you would say, got me into F1.
Thank
Because
you.
I fell in love with him, his story, and I will admit, I mean, the instant that that show came on where he said, I'm going to go to Renault and leave Red Bull, I went, oh no. I just knew it was going to be a mistake. But yeah, Danny
Because
Ricciardo.
the whole buildup to that, Renault hadn't been able to make a car stay on track. Their cars
Yeah.
kept blowing up.
Yep.
So I'll take it from here to transition to this then. How did you feel about Daniel Ricciardo's exit, and first of all, him even being brought back to the Red Bull team this past season and a half?
I loved seeing him come back, and I just was hoping for so much more. I wanted I wanted the Cinderella story. Sorry. Like I said from the very beginning, Danny Rick he etched a little something on my heart, and it'll forever be there. He just seems like such a good dude, in addition to the fact that he's a pretty sweet driver as well. So the way Danny, Danny, the way Daniel Ricciardo left, I thought it was such a foul. But then again, what do you do in the middle of the season? Do you have this huge celebration for you being essentially fired in the middle of the season? I mean, that's what it came down to. So I think Visa Cash App RB, whatever they are, was put in a really weird situation. And to get back to the very beginning of that question, I mean, I wanted to see Danny get back in that Red Bull car, go win some races, start fighting Max for championships. I wanted that whole story, and so to watch him go out in the junior team and then get fired in the middle of the season was tough. And then watching him just sit in that cockpit after shutting down the car that last time, knowing that, hey, this is the last time I'm getting out of this, that was a sad moment. So that was tough to watch.
You had you had asked us about our experience at the United States Grand Prix over on your channel, and we talked about that. But one thing we didn't talk about was probably one of Jeremiah's sadder moments of walking around that place. Jeremiah, detail what you saw.
The race right before Coda, was Daniel Ricciardo's last race. So we go into Coda.
Right.
We go into Coda, and Danny is plastered everywhere. Every poster, every billboard, everything is Daniel Ricciardo and like the favorites of Formula One. I mean, Max Verstappen, Lewis Hamilton, Charles Leclerc, Lando Norris, Daniel Ricciardo. They're all standing there holding their helmets, and every single one of those posters was outdated because right before that race, he had lost his seat.
Yeah.
He's big down there because and also on all those you say they're helmets, but a lot of them they had like cowboy hats on and
Yep.
And he's not even on the grid, and it was really kind of sad just to think, well, I get why they can't replace all the banners and advertising in here. They don't have that kind of turnaround time, but it's like as an F1 fan, he's what, Josh, you mentioned this. He probably brought in a lot of fans. Drive to Survive did, but you could have Drive to Survive, and if you don't have the personalities, you're not getting fans. It's the personalities that brought people in, and he was the biggest personality.
Yeah, Drive to Survive makes you, well, I mean, the fact that there's only 20 of these drivers in the world is just amazing to begin with. But then Drive to Survive makes you feel like you're friends with every single one of them. You essentially live life with them is what you feel like. Again, I can't
except for Lance
say
Stroll.
enough about. Well,
we're not friends with Lance Stroll.
Yeah. But
in fact, I could be mistaken, but didn't the very first season of Drive to Survive, when they first started the driver interviews and introducing everybody, wasn't the first one Daniel Ricciardo, and they were like, "I'm Daniel Ricciardo, and I'm a car mechanic," and then he started laughing, and then that's when he said, "I'm an F1 driver," and he goes, "That sounds so cool to say out loud."
Yeah, and he's such a great personality. So, I'm sorry that you didn't get to see Danny Rick race. And if I ever get to an F1 race, it makes me sad as well that I won't get to see him. In fact, this next year, there's so many people that are going to be new on the grid.
Yes.
That now I feel like I'm almost missed an opportunity. It's like I should have got to Coda earlier. I should have done it 2 years ago and seen all those guys. But anyway.
But you know what? You say that, but I think we still had a really good time, and it's very it was accessible. There was a ton of people, especially on race day. It was crazy, but we actually didn't have a hard time finding seats to watch the race. You just you fight the crowd a little bit, and you made it work. We had our lawn chairs that we brought and all that. And I'm really glad actually that we did the GA thing. A lot of people get intimidated by the prices of F1, and we were too, because if you go on StubHub or SeatGeek and you look at what it takes to sit in the grandstands, it'll be like $3,000, $4,000. Don't do that. Nobody should. If you're watching this, don't do that, because you can't leave that seat for the weekend. We had free reign of the whole track the entire weekend, and you could watch any angle you wanted to. And I think that was the right move.
Yeah, if I ever get to a race, and like I said, it'll be at Coda, GA is the way I'll go, and it's in large part due to your guys' review. I mean, I learned so much from that, what to do, what not to do. So, hey, thanks, by the way, for doing that. That video. That was a good one.
Call your credit card company before you go and have them raise your limit if you want to buy any merchandise.
Oh, yes. My gosh, I know. Absolutely insane. That saddens me.
I just wanted a Lando Norris bucket hat. That's all I wanted.
$200.
Yeah, I mean, jeez. Yeah, insane. Yeah, I saw your video on the prices as well, and it just it baffles my mind. And you were saying things were just flying off the shelves still,
Oh
even
yeah.
at those prices. I'd be shoot, look on eBay, people. Find the same thing for $20.
But you know what? And the
Um,
people that we talk to, kind of similar like you, and kind of similar to our experience, I don't think that's a once in a lifetime for us. We're obviously going to try to go back. For a lot of folks, that's a once in a lifetime thing. And if you're there, you got to do it right. You got to do it big. You go for all 3 days. You buy all the merch because you don't know when you're going to get that chance again. And so we did some interviews with folks that are on our YouTube or our other socials, and they were like, "This is the coolest place ever." Like nobody could fathom what they were watching, even though it was crowded and hot and everybody had to walk miles and miles. No one cared. They were just happy to be there.
use
No,
hashtag worth it.
yeah, we were sitting with a group of people to the left of Thomas. They drove up from Mexico, and then the group in front of us, they flew in from California. I mean, it was everywhere, everywhere.
Now, when you guys get sat for the race, did you kind of stayed planted, right? Or no, you moved around throughout the
Well,
race.
so Friday and Saturday we moved because those days are longer. Friday and Saturday had a lot more events throughout the day. You were pretty much there from like 8 a.m. until 6 p.m. every day, Friday and Saturday. So we had time to move. Race day is really just the race. And so you show up, you plant your seat, and that's where you stay for 2 or 3 hours. And then there's nothing else after that. So we tried to see everything before the Grand Prix, which I think we did. We walked the whole track, which took a while. And then on race day, yeah, we just planted and stayed there until the end.
Okay, yeah, I got to get all the gouge from you guys so that I can do it right if slash when I ever go.
Or hey, go to Vegas. The ticket prices were dropping for Vegas. We were monitoring that.
We
Yeah,
almost made two happen.
yeah, oh, jeez. Yeah, Vegas, man, alive. It's just so outrageous that eh, the money in Formula One is just everybody talks about it. Even the richest people are like, there's a lot of money in F1.
If y'all aren't familiar, again, we'll link all of Josh's and duct tape stuff in our description. He does his shows live, and that was our first experience to the live show. We do all of our stuff pre-recorded, and so we can always cut things out. But definitely check out his stuff. I wanted to finish this episode, unless either of y'all have anything else, with a little trivia game.
All right, let's do it. I'm game.
Okay.
I'm terrified.
All right, gentlemen. This is our end of the show trivia. I've got 3 different categories of trivias that we're going to play. Each one has 6 questions, and we're going to go. We're going to go every round. Josh will go first, then Jeremiah, then Josh, and Jeremiah, and we'll alternate. And we'll just see how y'all do. I'm not necessarily keeping points, but we'll see if there's a winner by the end of this with y'all's varying knowledge of Formula One. So game number 1, and if you're listening to this in podcast form, we're on YouTube. You'll see the visuals of what we're putting on the screen over on YouTube. But game number 1 is going to be name that track. And Jeremiah, Josh, we'll have you go first on name that track.
Okay.
So can you name that track?
Yes, I can definitely name that track. That is Coda. That is unmistakable.
Ding, ding, ding. Josh is on the board with a point. Jeremiah, can you name that track?
This is oh man.
3,
Yeah,
2.
Singapore.
It is Singapore. He might have Googled it. I don't know. He could be cheating.
No, because it has a little conjoining section right there in the middle where they almost go over each other, but they're right next to each other, separated by a wall.
It's going to be reviewed by the stewards later on. We'll see if he broke track limits on that one.
it's phenomenal.
All right, Josh.
Oh, okay.
What do we got here?
Well, gosh, I think you're handing me some softballs here, and I absolutely love it because that's Monaco. Yet again, another unmistakable track. So give me Monaco. Final answer.
That is Monaco. Josh is up 2-1. Jeremiah with his second question.
That's Qatar.
That is Qatar with the fingers. Kind of obvious.
Yeah, it looks like a baseball glove.
All right, Josh, back to you.
Yeah, Vegas. Vegas, baby. George Russell, latest winner. Not the greatest track, but it is Vegas. So, fair enough.
We always remember it because Jeremiah saw somebody compare it to upside down spider pig, and I don't know if you're familiar with that reference, but it definitely fits.
Yep. That is absolutely upside down spider pig. There's
All
no
right, Jeremiah,
question.
last track before we go into our next category. What's that one?
Uh,
3.
oh, you hate this one. This is Australia.
I was so hoping he wouldn't get it. I was so hoping he would. It's such a generic looking track.
You hate this one in the video game. That's the only reason I knew it.
Josh, I don't know if you've ever played the F1 video games, but this track is
No.
listed as very easy. They give each track a difficulty score. This track is not very easy. I can't do this track. I don't know why. Okay. So y'all both perfected the first round there. So we'll move on to name that driver.
Oh.
Josh, you're up first. Who is this?
Okay. Nico Hulkenberg. Sorry, a little Danny Rick reference there. So unmistakable. There he is.
Absolutely. Jeremiah, who's that?
Come on, man. That's not fair.
Throw out a name you might know.
Oh my gosh, I'm going to get so much hate for this, and I'm so sorry. Older gentleman.
Shout something out.
God, it looks like Kimi Räikkönen, but that's not right. Man, I don't know.
That is Juan Manuel Fangio.
I was going to say Alberto Ascari just because of how old it was.
Yeah, Josh knew that.
Right?
You should have known that.
I didn't know that.
Come on.
All right.
I'm not so sure this is a fair video game. Oh, that's it's one of the new ones. Jack Dude. No, how do you say his?
Yeah.
Dohan. Yeah. Okay. Alpine. Nice.
Absolutely.
I wish you would have put the teams on there so I could see the teams.
I purposely took out the collars and the branding and all of that. So I thought that was a little bit tougher. But yeah, Jack Doohan for sure. Jeremiah, who's that?
Come on. Who is it?
Jackie Stewart.
This is Mr. Formula One. Who's the oldest F1 driver you can think of? Who's
Alberto
the original?
Ascari.
That is Alberto Ascari.
Man, I don't know.
Josh is taking a commanding lead on you at this point.
I don't know if this is a fair game, but I'm loving it. I'm having a good time.
All right, Josh, back to you. Who's this?
Oh no! Okay, no, that's Ollie Behrman. That's the guy who stepped in for Carlos Sainz's appendix, and managed to get 7th place. I can't remember what track it was, but yeah, Ollie Behrman, the tallest driver in F1, right?
Yeah, he's new to the grid this year as a full-time driver, and he stepped in for Carlos in Jeddah, arguably one of the toughest tracks, and got 7th place and killed it. And Jeremiah, wrap us up. Who is this guy?
Bro, this is not fair, but I love it.
I've been giving you big names at least. You know Juan Manuel Fangio. You know about Alberto Ascari. Throw out a big name.
That doesn't mean I know what these guys look like per se. I just know all about them. Let's go with Jacques Villeneuve.
No, this is Cliff Allison. He got 6 points for Ferrari back in 1960.
How am I supposed to know that?
There was an article written on him called "The Forgotten F1 Drivers."
This is the greatest game ever.
All right, so Josh sweeps that round and takes a 3-point lead over Jeremiah going into the final round.
That's phenomenal.
And Jeremiah's favorite game.
Car parts.
Name that part.
Oh boy.
This might be a little bit tougher, Josh. So what is this part that's highlighted here?
Front wing end plate.
Front wing end plate is right. Ding, ding, ding. Don't worry, Jeremiah. I got you. You're my friend. We've been friends for a long time. This is easy.
Okay. That's a rear diffuser.
Yeah, rear diffuser. This is easy.
Very nice. Very nice.
Josh?
Well, that would be a turbo. That's a turbo.
That is a turbo.
Yeah, that's an absolute turbo.
Jeremiah.
Oh, I know what that is.
You can get this.
This is the intake.
Think about this part specifically.
Oh, that's where they start up the F1 car.
Mm-mm.
That's
What?
the steering
The
wheel?
steering wheel, yeah.
It's the steering column.
That's the steering column.
Why is it so fat? I didn't think that they were that fat.
It just might be how the image is blown up, but yeah, steering column. Josh got that one. Come on, man.
Ah,
We've got 2 questions left. Josh has absolutely run away with this game, but Josh, what is this part?
that is, come on. I can't remember the name of it. It's just a wheel nut. I mean, I
wheel
don't.
nut.
Wheel nut? Is that what it's called? The
What
official
it's
name?
called. When
Okay,
I googled
it's a
wheel
wheel
nut,
nut.
this is what came up.
You know, I wanted to buy one of those, like just to have a part of F1. Those, I mean, well, we talked about it earlier. Everything F1 is expensive. Try buying something off a car. Oh my
We looked at
goodness!
like buying the Pirelli tires before, and they're like $7,000.
Oh my gosh, it's insane. Yeah. So
All right, taking us home with the last question on the game. What's that, Jeremiah?
oh, MGU.
I was
That's my guess.
say...
I don't know,
Shout out apart.
bro.
The energy store? Man, I don't know.
That's the fuel pump.
Oh,
That is the
Wonderful.
fuel pump.
yeah, I mean, everybody knows that.
Wonderful. This has been a great edition of...
Oh, phenomenal, man. I want to come back for trivia every time. This is phenomenal.
I may have purposely stacked that game in somebody's favor, but no one will ever be able to tell whose favor it was stacked in.
Not at all. Not at all. Seemed fair.
What was his name?
Across the
Something
board.
Allison?
Dear
Cliff
Lord.
Allison. Cliff Allison, 6 points, Ferrari 1960, never raced again.
I think if you had maybe done AI generated drivers, it would have been like that would be the only thing tougher than what you just gave him.
Just absolutely fake people.
Yeah.
No, this was actually an AI generated picture. This man has never raced and is not a real person.
But yeah, his name is. Anyway.
I'm over here like Jackie Stewart. Like,
All right, well that is I think that is all we have. Josh, we can't say thank you enough for hopping on our show and also having us on your show. Again, we're going to link everything for Duct Tape Dynasty down in our description. Go check out Josh and the work that he's doing over on his channel. He's growing his platform as well. He does live streams. He does other sports outside of F1. So if you've got an interest in football or really anything else, and Josh, feel free to plug here, but definitely go check that out.
No, I appreciate that. Thank you. Yes. For one, I love talking F1, so I hope we can do this again sometime. There's not a lot of F1 content on my channel, but I would like to change that. So, having some guys to actually talk F1 with once in a while would be kind of nice. Yeah, a lot of football stuff on there, but we are branching out. We have hockey on there. Next year, we're really going into more of just a flat-out sports show. We're going to have updates from, MLB and all the major sports. So who knows? But hopefully a lot more F1.
That's awesome. Jeremiah, take us home. What do you got?
guys, Carlos Sainz for 2025 Formula One World Champion? Probably not, but man, that would be sweet.
All right, we'll see you.
Bye, guys.
See ya.